Well, some Democrats and liberal pundits reacting in downright horrific ways to Charlie Kirk's assassination by blaming Charlie Kirk and the conservative movement for his own murder. Just listen to Minnesota Congresswoman Ilhan Omar.
Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd, downplay slavery and what Black people have gone through in this country. There are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Cruel indeed. Nauseating. And Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren shrugged off a question about the Democrats' rhetoric.
What do you say to people who are saying the Democrats need to lower the temperatures?
Oh, please. Right. Why don't you start with the President of the United States, right? And every ugly meme he has posted and every ugly word.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker went as far as to blame President Trump for Charlie Kirk's murder.
I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence.
Fomenting indeed. CBS Mornings host Nate Burleson wasted no time pointing the finger at Republicans.
Not everyone took to his words or his rhetoric. At times they were offensive to specific communities. But with that said, this is not the time to focus on that. We are focused on this tragedy.
And earlier this week, MSNBC fired analyst Matthew Dowd, who grossly smeared Kirk on air after the shooting.
He's been one of the most divisive, especially divisive younger figures in this, who is constantly sort of pushing this sort of hate speech. Hateful thoughts lead to hateful words, which then lead to hateful actions.
Kaylee, there is zero justification for those comments we just played, and it is nauseating to see them come from media analysts and congresspeople and senators and more.
I think that's the key point you made, that those comments are coming from analysts, from political figures, from people who were elected to represent a populace of the country. When you see this nonsense on college campuses, part of you can say that's a lost person and maybe they're young and maybe they come back and course correct. But they're learning this from their leaders. Maybe it's more gently veiled. Maybe they say it in a more calm tone. But what you just heard from Elizabeth Warren and J.B. Pritzker, blaming the right, blaming Charlie Kirk, essentially, Ilhan Omar, the same Matthew Dowd. If you hear someone might have lost their life and your first interaction is to go on TV and blame that person, it's the same thing we saw after Trump's assassination attempt. They blamed Trump. There were all kinds of questions across the media. Should Trump tone down his rhetoric? Young people are learning this from our elected officials, and it's not going to end until people do better. When you cast a ballot, it is sacred. Vote for someone who acts with a human heart in a tragedy. And there are, in my opinion, two sort of general forms of this insidious, odious responses that we've seen. And one is just a disgusting celebration. We've seen that writ large, and there seems to be accountability occurring in structured format. So, for example, many teachers who have posted gleeful celebrations about this, where administrations, upon request, say, no, they've been fired, or they're on leave, et cetera, right? But here what we just played was a blaming of a murder on not only Charlie Kirk himself, but also the president, Republicans writ large, things like that. When will we see an accountability there, Professor, of our own, where the constituents say, Senator Warren, I demand better. Ilhan Omar, I demand better of you.
Look, I agree with liberals when they say don't blame the victim, but they're there blaming the victim.
Yes.
And they are there blaming President Trump and January 6th for this assassination. And when I was listening to this, I was particularly struck by Governor Pritzker. He comes from Illinois, the land of Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln gave one of the greatest speeches in American history, calling for charity to your enemies. At the end of the Civil War, he said we should be charitable to our opponents. that they are not our enemies. We're all still citizens of the same country. And to have politicians out there turning their backs on what Lincoln said and hope for our country, I think you're right, Emily, that it's up to the voters now to turn out people who are trying to escalate the violence, not tone it down.
You know, Alicia, I'm not quite sure, too, in these opportunities that have been lost, why it's not so easy for those of us that do have microphones. Can't you just say something like, there is zero justification for or place for violence ever? Yep. There is zero justification for violent rhetoric or fomenting rhetoric ever. Why are we hearing from these people that it's a certain target instead of just writ large condemning it?
There is a responsibility when you have a mic on or in your face, no doubt. One of the hardest things, and you bring up young people, and they're looking to leaders. I have to have conversations as a parent to my young adult kids all the time about violence and shootings. For the very first time, my son came to me the other day and said, "But Mom, they're celebrating." And that was a conversation I wasn't ready for. And just because the celebration is also pushed and endorsed by people who have the microphones, who are the leaders. They don't stop and think about it.
Yeah, and we've heard this often where 10% of people on Twitter X are the ones creating 90%, for example, of noise or filth in this regard. So when we talk about microphone on social media, there's an amplification quotient. So shouldn't it be incumbent on the elected officials to be the ones that say, hey, tone it down? That is not real life. That can lead to disaster.
Look, yes is the answer to your question. Nate Burleson, though, at CBS did something interesting. We didn't play the whole bite today. If you let that play out, he does say what you said, that, we shouldn't focus on, who's to blame and all this. But, and he's looking straight at the former House Speaker who's on that set, if you go back to that video, Kevin McCarthy, and he says, but isn't it your responsibility, too, the rhetoric that you, pointing the finger at not just Republicans, but leadership, for what happened to Charlie Kirk. And then you could flip over to the other MSNBC, their competition. Within seconds of reporting Kirk had been shot, anchor Katie Tur speculated aloud about whether President Donald Trump might have, and this is a quote, used the Charlie Kirk shooting as a justification to do something bad, end quote. Then, in response to that, her guest, Matthew Dowd, suggested Kirk's own rhetoric bore responsibility for his death. They fired him. She's still sitting there. So what's the benchmark now? Like, what's the standard for what's accepted and what's not? Because one was clearly worse than the other, and Nate Burleson did not mean the first part of what he said. He meant the second part.
That's a great point. And we saw in the Ilhan Omar clip, the hosts agreeing handily.
Yes. And nodding along.
Exactly. More to come, more outnumbered in a moment.